Hi, I'm Wendy Yi, and welcome to Painting the Dice Tower. Are you afraid of trying new things, or are you afraid of even trying painting because you're worried that once that paint goes on the miniature, it's all over, it's done, you have to be perfect? Well, let's go ahead and talk about what happens when we make mistakes, or even just how to try new stuff. Let's get started. All right, so trying new things is hard, and I will be one of the first to admit that I like my comfort zone. I like doing a lot of the same things over and over again, and I think that's just a metaphor for my life, right? I like to keep things just comfortable. But if you don't experiment and you don't try new things, you'll never know what you're good at, right? And you'll never know what works. So when it comes to miniature painting, I occasionally push myself out of that comfort zone and I try new things just because I can. Now, some people say, hey, if you want to try a new technique or you're interested in something, try it on a separate miniature that you don't care about. Maybe grab some army men or whatever. But for me, that's not actually something that I'm ever going to do. I'm never going to paint a miniature that I'm not going to use. I want to only focus on things that are going to be useful and fun. And you know what? If they don't turn out, I can always start over again. It's okay. That's the beautiful thing about plastic, is that you can strip it, which I never do. You can paint over it. Or honestly, you can just come in and you can touch it up with like a wet brush. So for example, I'll show you this video where I'm painting this pink base, which for one thing, was an experiment on its own because that is a very bright pink base. But I'm painting this pink base and I got some on the little toes of this monster. And I just came in right away while the paint was still wet with a wet brush that didn't have any paint on it, just water. And I just kind of brushed up and cleaned up the edges. And you know what? All was well, all is fixed. And I think that that works so often. If you throw on a color and you realize, oh, I don't like that, or an effect, oh, I don't like that, the wash didn't look good. You know, if you put a dark wash on a light color and you're like, oh, that looks really dirty, just water it down really fast, scrub it off. If you're doing a large area, just take a brush that you don't like, an old gross brush, and just use it to scrub, you know, something that you would use for stippling or that kind of stuff. It's very simple and very easy to clean up a lot of work when you realize, oh, that was a mistake early on. Now, if you over time have done a few layers and decide you just don't like it, you can always use simple grain or some sort of stripping agent. There's lots of stuff out there. Look it up online if you really want to start completely from scratch. But honestly, I think that's too much work. Go back in and just paint over the top. You can always throw black over something or white over something. And if you always keep your paints thin, then you're not going to lose a ton of that detail. Because that's really the big issue, is that if the paint layers up, then you're not going to have all those nice crisp details. But if you keep your layers thin, it's not a big deal. Okay, so let's talk about some of the experimentations that I've done with Primal, because these monsters are amazing. They're big and they're detailed and they just have such cool color concepts behind them. Like, I'm just very excited to try something new. So I was experimenting with contrast paints. I know I talk about them all the time. I'm not sponsored by them. I just like them. So with the contrast paints, I decided that I was going to put a base down of the hot pink, right? And I was going to come in with a purple over the top, because this is how contrast paints work, right? They soak down, they kind of fall into the recesses, and they pool nicely where you want it to be dark because it's deep inside. But then they also leave a little bit of color on top. And normally I just put them over white. That's my go-to, right? I throw contrast paints over white and I think they look beautiful. They pop, they're bright, they're fabulous, and they're the color in the bottle. So I came in and I thought, okay, let me try the purple over the pink. And I will tell you what, it was a cool effect. I was actually really happy with how it looked. I was worried it was going to be streaky. I was worried that the purple would cover the pink too much, or that the pink would pop through too much. You know what I mean? I just wasn't sure what was going to happen, but I ended up really liking how the effect turned out. Now on the flat surfaces, the purple was really streaky. And even when I put a few layers of purple on, I don't feel like it ever fully looked like it was covered. The opacity just wasn't there for me. So then I just filled those spots in with black and I think it looked great. Now I did the same thing with orange and brown because I was like, well, we're doing this. We're trying these strange bright colors, contrasts and stuff. So I did the same thing with orange. I put brown over the top of this like super bright orange. and I liked it a lot. In fact, I might like it more than the purple, except that the purple is such a pretty color. Now I can't make up my mind. But I put it over the top and just look at how beautiful that is, how that orange just sticks out from the brown. Once again, I was worried that the brown would just completely cover the orange and we wouldn't have that bright contrast in color. But it was great. Also, the brown is more opaque and it's darker and it's richer, so it wasn't as streaky. I just had to put a couple layers on the flat spots, and then they looked, honestly, like really dark because it's a very brownish black color. And so I didn't even have to really update the edges with anything dark. So they turned out really well. So basically what I'm saying is just try stuff, just experiment, see what happens. The worst thing that would happen is that I had to paint it all black on the bottom and then dry brush over the top and do all the same stuff that I normally do. It's just that I got to try something new and it was exciting. So there you go. Experiment, let your little brain soar, your imagination. That's the beauty of painting, is it's so forgiving. Anyways, thanks for joining me today. I'm Wendy Yi, and have fun painting all your miniatures.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you like this review or whatever you just watched, wasn't it amazing? Check out our channel, Dice Tower. We have all kinds of things. We review games, we do top 10s, we play games live. It's all about board games, but especially the people who play them. Check out Dice Tower YouTube channel.